Hi everyone, welcome to the first video in the content for Week 8 UOSS at UNSW. So in previous weeks, while we've looked at the structure of an academic essay, we've looked at academic arguments, and we've broken down some of the components of an essay, such as introductions, paragraphs, and looked at transition signals. This week we're going to go and focus on writing, so academic writing style. And in this sense, it links a little bit to what we did on transition signals actually last week, which are in the activities. So you'll see some connection there. And we're going to do that by focusing on, in this video first. So in what follows, I'm going to introduce you to 4 different modes of writing and give you some examples of them. And I guess what's important to say here is that there might be some overlap between the different categories, and not to really worry about that, but to understand the differences, the main differences between these modes and the different reasons we would use them, and which ones are more likely to be used in academic writing and which ones we're less likely to use. So that's really the important thing that you need to take away from this video. Okay, the first mode we're going to introduce is narration. So this involves telling a story, and it does this by linking events, people, or ideas in time. And it's often useful when providing histories or presenting methods. Otherwise, we use this really sparingly in academic writing. So an example of narration would be in 1770, after landing in Botany Bay, Cook then navigated the length of the eastern seaboard of Australia. So you can even see here in the language we've got, the words we have underlined here, they tell us a bit of a story. They actually link together these, this time, this place, this person, and this event. So after, then this is the kind of language of narration. And you can see also from this example why it might be useful for histories to tell a bit of a story about the past and what happened. But in academic writing, we actually use this very sparingly, and especially in student essays, wouldn't advise this. The next mode is description. So this isn't telling a story, rather it's giving information. And it's really got no concern usually for time. It's useful to describe an event, object, person, or place. So this is the kind of what, who, or where. Too much description can make academic writing appear quite shallow. And what it is really good for is just getting kind of the facts on the table. So it shouldn't dominate an essay. But it may, it may appear, you may need to use description. So here's an example related to the first one. In 1770, Cook's expedition landed in what is now Botany Bay. Botany Bay was a wide but shallow area that afforded little shelter from heavy easterly winds and seas. Several runs of fresh water were found in different parts of the bay. So here we have describing a place. And it's describing that area and the winds, the waters, and as you can see, if you had too much of this in academic writing, well, that's all well and good, but we don't actually know what you're saying about that information. There's not a lot of depth. So this is to be used when it's needed, but also sparingly. Okay, the third mode is explanation, and this involves interpreting information, clarifying, contextualizing. It gives reasons for why or how something happened, and it points out the significance of something. So by giving explanations, you can actually demonstrate your analytical skills, and this is why it's quite useful for students to use this in essays. So in 1770, Cook's expedition first landed in Botany Bay not only with the intention of finding a suitable location for a penal colony, but arguably with the purpose of extending the British Empire. So this language here is starting to interpret the actions. It's not just saying what happened, when and where. It's not just telling us a story, but it's actually saying, okay, here's what happened and here's my interpretation of this. And here is, arguably it's also giving the sense of significance of this event. The final mode of writing I'm going to introduce is critique. So this involves a kind of thoughtful or considered judgment, evaluation or analysis about an idea, an event. It could be particular data, it could be interpretations. So by including well-informed critiques in your writing, you demonstrate you're a critical thinker. And we will deal with critical thinking much more in term 2 in much more depth. But it's, as I've mentioned a few times, I think already in this course, it is very important for academic writing to demonstrate your critical thinking where possible. And so this is like explanation. It's one of the modes that you really want to be using more of in essays. So here's an example. In 1770, Cook's expedition landed in Botany Bay. This event was problematic because it ensured that Aboriginals would become second-class citizens in their own country. So here we have an analysis of this actual event. We have a judgment about its impact, about what this meant, what happened afterwards. And so you can see it's quite different from the others, even the previous one on explanation, and this takes it a step further. So here's a little nifty kind of visualization of the different modes. So as we said, we've got here blue is description, giving information but without a concern for time. Narration, we've got green down there, involves telling a story by linking events, people or ideas in time. Explanation is clarifying, contextualizing, giving reasons or how, why something happened, interpreting information, explaining the significance. And yellow involves making considered judgments or evaluations. Now the reason I've got these 4 different colours up is because I'm going to give you an activity to do to prepare for class. And in this activity, I want you to read a paragraph and to identify the different modes. And so I think the easiest way to do this is just to kind of stick to the colours and underline those modes with those colours. But of course you can have your own way of doing that. But the thing is to look for these 4 instances in the paragraph. Can you identify where the paragraph is using this mode? So I've got it up here on the next slide, but I'll also attach it in a Word document. We'll come back to this paragraph in our tutorial, so please kind of have your activity ready to go so that we can compare and discuss how you went with identifying the modes.